So we're here in Temple going to do another roof replacement. Prior to going with the replacement route, the client was looking to see if we could actually just do repairs. In order to evaluate for repair, we actually here at Lone Ranger Roofing go by the National Academy of Forensic Engineers guidance as far as determining if a roof is repairable. And what they have here is actually quite simple. What you're gonna do is look at the number of damaged shingles, because after a certain amount of damaged shingles, with the roof being an interlocking system, it becomes it becomes more expensive just to do individual repairs than to replace the entire roof. So this formula is RC equals DURA, where D stands for damaged shingles, U stands for the unit cost, R stands for the repair difficulty factor, and A stands for actual area of the slope. So this tarp was actually done by the homeowner. It's not correct, but it's actually, it's enough to hold it down until the warranty claim or the insurance claim comes through. Essentially what you would normally do is here where we have all these nails running through, these actually look like framing nails, but you would use cap nails to ensure that the water isn't going through. They actually did pull it pretty taut, but what's better than a tarp actually is just placing some roofing underlayment. You can get a lot more square footage in a roll, and you can cover a larger area. Right here in this area, what you would normally do is try to raise a couple of shingles and in place the tarp underneath the shingle and then put it down with cap nails rather than trying to tape the joints. But of course, like we discussed, this was done by the homeowner, and it's actually a pretty good job for a DIY, but if a roofing company were to come out and do this, it wouldn't be acceptable. So again, before coming out here, the client was interested in potentially doing a repair versus full replacement. And like I said, we needed a test for pliability, and it's actually a pretty simple process. What you're gonna do is get a pry bar or a flat bar, and you're gonna go underneath the shingle and basically, as carefully as possible, go underneath and then attempt to raise the shingle 45 degrees from the roof line. Now, as you're raising, you start to see a crease form or any other kind of damage form, then the roof is not repairable. Now here, surprisingly, this is still very pliable. However, you can already see that it's lost a substantial amount of granules, and even if you were to test for pliability, you can't tell where that crease is forming because it's already lost so much granules, and you can see the fiberglass, which is the third layer within a composite shingle. Another thing to look out for when determining repairability is whether or not the shingles have lost their adhesion or if they've delaminated. So an easy way to test that is actually to just go along the roof, and you can actually find them quite easy. Like this here, it's lost all of its adhesion, and what's going to happen is wind will get underneath these and eventually just rip them off completely, as they are basically no longer attached to the roof. Right here, you can see this backside's definitely had more wear and tear. It's actually pretty worn out. It's one of the more worn out roofs that I've seen. And here you can tell it's reached its third layer. You have your granules on top, and then some kind of bond, and then asphalt, and then after that you have a fiberglass, which all this is fiberglass is exposed. Now, something to think about, a lot of people want to wait to the point to where a roof's like this, then you deal with issues of having leaks. You've got leaks, then you've got additional damage, your drywall is getting damaged, your insulation is getting damaged, potential for damaging your HVAC units if they're in the attic. Another issue when waiting too long is an insurance company can come back and say, these incidences were from prior events and they're gonna require multiple deductibles. Additionally, what could happen is they could also just say, you know what, your roof has reached its usable life. at this point, this is what's considered normal wear and tear, not an act of God, not something that we're going to insure. So at some point, there's got to be a balance between when you want to file a claim and then just waiting too long to file, which can also come back to bite you. So right here, you might notice that we've got roll-on roof versus your shingle roof. Now, after a certain pitch, when you're at a 212 pitch, the water's not coming off near as fast. So before the roof hits this porch line, you're at a 4 to 512 pitch. And then right here, you're at a 212. Now, for code and to keep this actually water resistant, you need to do a roll down roof. Because what would happen if we continued this shingle roof across the porch, you're gonna see that water would eventually get inside the keys of the shingles, and then underneath near the keys, you'll find nails, and within those nails, the water will intrude. Let me just see if I can expose an area. So the nice part about some of these older houses, rather than having OSB or a step above that plywood, they come with true lumber. This is actually a tongue and groove pine, and I can guarantee that this area probably had water intrusion, but because we have real lumber here, it's not rotten and it's still perfectly fine to roof over.